There are moments when life changes without asking permission. Something begins to move quietly inside us in the middle of the night, in a sentence that hits deep, in a video that appears out of nowhere. If you're here now, it's because something within you has already begun to shift. It might feel confusing. Maybe part of you wants to hold on to what's slipping away. But the truth is simple. Your life is about to turn a page. And what comes next will look nothing like what you've known before. This is the transition point between the old and the new, between fear and surrender. The mind says it's risky, too soon, better to wait. But the body is tired of repeating the same emotions. So the field begins to move, clearing out what no longer belongs. Coincidences multiply, signs become obvious, and a greater force pushes you forward even when you try to stay still. Pain doesn't come from transformation. It comes from resisting the unknown. The old self tries to survive, but something deeper, quieter, has already decided to move on. It's consciousness awakening, remembering who you truly are. When that happens, nothing can stop the process. The right people arrive, the wrong ones drift away, and life reorganizes itself. It's the chaos before order, the collapse before creation. If you're feeling discomfort, that's the best sign possible. It means you're crossing through. Life is calling you to remember your creative power. Nothing happens by accident. This moment is the universe whispering, "You're almost there. Don't stop now."
There's a subtle instant when something inside you gets tired of repeating the same story. Even if everything looks the same, there's tension between who you were and who's being born. It's the space where the old and new wrestle inside the same body. The mind tries to understand, the body resists, and the heart just knows there's no going back. The turning point is rarely gentle. It often hides beneath chaos, doubt, and uncertainty. It's the body reacting to the idea of becoming someone it's never been. When I started to understand that my thoughts created my reality, I realized how much I was imprisoning myself. The quantum field doesn't respond to what I want. It responds to what I am. And that changes everything. During this phase, life seems to test your consistency. Old emotions try to pull you back like invisible rubber bands. One day you wake up inspired, the next doubtful. That oscillation is the process of deprogramming. The body is detoxing from the past while the mind updates the software of consciousness. Nothing is wrong. Everything is unfolding exactly as it should. As the universe reorganizes, people drift away, paths close, and the most common mistake is trying to hold on to what's leaving. It happens because you're trying to stay inside a version of yourself that is already expired. Change doesn't happen when you understand. It happens when you stop resisting. Then the void appears. The old no longer fits, and the new hasn't arrived. It's the pause of reality. That silence feels scary because it seems like nothing's happening. But it's in that exact silence that the new reality begins to form. The space between who you were and who you're becoming. Most people give up here, not realizing that the void is the womb of the new. The mind creates stories so convincing that you believe them as absolute truth. Most people don't really decide, they just repeat emotional and chemical patterns. The body gets addicted to suffering like any other drug. It calls safe what's familiar, even when it's painful. That's why change feels like driving with the handbrake on. The engine revs, but you stay in place. Self-sabotage shows up in subtle ways. You start something new, and suddenly a voice inside says, "This won't work." That's the unconscious trying to protect you.
To it, change means death. So it creates distractions and excuses to preserve the old identity. You believe them, thinking they're rational choices, but they're not. They're chemical reactions trying to keep the past alive. I realized it wasn't enough to think differently. I had to feel differently. Thought is electric. Emotion is magnetic. Together, they form the energetic signature the field reads as reality. Self-sabotage doesn't live in the conscious mind. It lives in the emotional body. The real work is teaching the body to feel the new state of being before it exists. That's the hardest part. Convincing the body to believe in a future that hasn't arrived yet. It craves the familiar, but if you stay steady in the frequency of the new, something begins to shift. The old program weakens, and the new one takes space. Gradually, the body stops reacting automatically. Emotional memories lose power, and your system begins to operate on a new vibration. Change is challenging because you're not just fighting your thoughts. You're facing an entire body conditioned to feel a certain way. The body gets addicted to anxiety, hurry, and drama, calling it normal. When you try to change, it seeks familiar sensations. That emotional looping keeps most people trapped in old versions of themselves. Breaking that cycle requires patience and compassion. It's not about forcing, it's about educating the body to feel new emotions, gratitude instead of fear, trust instead of control. The body doesn't change through words, it changes through experience. Every time you feel the new state as real, the body learns, this is also safe. And the old pattern begins to fade. Lightness appears, clarity returns, a new inner rhythm is born. That's how transformation takes root, one chemical adjustment at a time. There comes a moment when the mind has understood everything, but the heart still carries traces of the old. It misses. It seeks what's familiar, even if it hurts. That's the battle between what you know and what you feel. Change means letting parts of yourself die. Memories, people, emotions. The mind moves on, but the heart keeps the past as unresolved energy. As long as it vibrates, it keeps attracting similar experiences. Healing isn't erasing, it's integrating. Feeling until it dissolves. Healing isn't mental, it's vibrational. When the heart accepts the new, coherence is born. And coherence is power. Mind and heart aligned create a frequency capable of rewriting reality. Dr. Joe Dispenza explains that coherence is the alignment between what you think, feel, and do. Thinking or speaking is clear intention, what you want to create. Feeling is generating the corresponding emotion as if the desired outcome already existed, feeling gratitude, joy, fulfillment. Acting is behaving according to that new identity. When thought, emotion, and action align, coherence is established and the field responds. But if there's conflict between what you think, feel, and do, manifestation gets blocked. Harmony among these three levels is the core of conscious creation. In that state of coherence, thought doesn't just wish for the new, it feels it as real. And in that moment, the universe rearranges to reflect your vibration. But before that comes mourning for who you were, for who you thought you had to be. The new can only enter when the heart releases the old. The collapse of reality isn't failure, it's realignment. When energy shifts, the universe must reconfigure itself. That creates chaos because the old world dissolves before the new one forms. Everything seems to fall apart, but it's just the field recalibrating. No system collapses if it still has energy to exist. What falls is simply what no longer vibrates in harmony with you. In the emptiness that remains, a new space emerges, quiet, calm, authentic. It's the prelude of your new self. The field tests your consistency. It repeats old situations and watches whether you react the same or choose differently. The universe doesn't judge, it simply mirrors your vibration. Each time you stay aligned with the new state, even amid chaos, the field understands you're ready for the next level. Over time, the body begins to respond differently. Heavy emotions lose strength, the heart aligns with the mind, and you start emitting a new frequency. Nothing changed on the outside, everything changed within. This isn't mysticism, it's physics. Every emotion has an electromagnetic signature. When you vibrate in love and gratitude, the field recognizes who you've chosen to be and responds with synchronicities, opportunities, and flow. You no longer attract, you radiate. Then comes the point of no return. The old self can no longer exist in the new field. The old stories lose meaning. It's uncomfortable, sometimes painful, but deeply liberating. The ego resists, tries to control, but the past no longer exists. This death is the birth of presence. It's when you stop being a story and start being a living experience. In the end, every transformation comes down to one movement: letting go. Letting go of control, of narratives, of repeated emotions. When you release, the field acts. Life reorganizes. The impossible becomes natural, and flow returns. Transformation isn't about changing the world, it's about changing the frequency through which you experience it. And when that happens, everything that once seemed improbable becomes inevitable.